Hey there, folks, and welcome to another episode of Crit Hit Interviews. I'm Arlyeon, and we're here today with Don Bellenger. Did I get that right?
You did, yeah.
Hey! Of Super Scary Snakes, whom some of you may recognize the developer of Black Future 88, though I do believe that's also not the extent of your experience.
Yeah, I've done like some other stuff. I've been in games for a little while.
The one of them, I was looking at it, and I'm like, this sort of looks like League. Like a
Yeah.
League-ish thing.
Oh God, yeah. I, like many people that worked in games during that era, worked on a doomed MOBA. I think a lot of people saw League come out, and they were in like well-funded studios that were mostly making mobile games, and they're like, yeah, we want a slice of that. And I was one of the many people that kind of put a lot of work into a MOBA that then got shut down like weeks after it launched.
Ooh.
So that was cool.
I mean, probably still better than, like, the Dead Island MOBA. That was tragic.
Oh, I didn't even hear about that. There's a Dead Island MOBA?
There was a Dead Island MOBA. I'm not sure it still exists. I could probably go and check and see if it's still a tragedy.
Oh, wow.
But it was like a sort of MOBA-y thing with a campaignish... It was weird. Yeah. But, getting on track. So...
Wow.
I know, right? I know. But normally I tend to start off these interviews with informal questions, of which, man, I'm just knocking it out of the park today. So we can find out a bit more about, you know, the people behind the games. And also because I just desperately love silly icebreakers. So for those folks who are here for more just the things that are related to the game, there is a list of questions that are going to be splashed up on the screen. But otherwise... let's go and ask more dumb questions. So, you know, kicking things off, care to tell the viewers a bit about yourself?
Sorry, I think I lost you there. You still there?
Oh, I'm still here.
Okay. I think you asked, tell me about myself. No, tell
the
about
viewers
myself, right?
a bit about yourself. Yeah,
Okay.
you got it.
This is going to be great. It's going to be a whirlwind tour of Donald Bellenger. So I am 38. I live in Oakland, California. I've been here for like 15 years. I worked in games for a while, like we just talked about, and then I kind of burned out of the industry super hard, kind of after that doomed MOBA experience. And that was, but I really missed it. You know, I like working on games even when it sucks. So that was kind of when I came back as an indie, and I kind of lucked into a great many things, including working with my publisher, Good Shepherd. And eventually I got my game out, which is kind of a miracle. And now I'm still doing that, I guess. I'm still working on Black Future 88, as well as a new game. And yeah, I love working in games. I wish I had 40 hours a day to do it. But unfortunately there's just like, 24, and I need a lot of those for sleep and eating and stuff. So...
yeah, I mean, I get that feel. There's a reason why I'm drinking, like, a mate right now, and it's partly because there's coffee in it.
You put coffee in your mate?
It is a specific blend that has coffee beans and carob and white chocolate in it, and it's lovely, and it also contributes to me needing to sleep less, and thus I love it.
Oh, nice. Okay, Sidebar. I got a really bad dad joke about carob. You ready?
I'm ready.
Where does carob come from?
Oh god, I don't know.
The Caribbean.
Ah!
Oh, kill me. Okay, sorry. I saw an opportunity. I had to take it to share the world's worst sense of humor with anyone. So
no,
here we are.
I approve. I mean, I get chewed out all the time for dad jokes and stupid puns, so you're in good company.
Nice.
Okay. So also, are you like tea, coffee, bubble tea? Figure I should ask here. Since we're on that tangent.
I used to be all tea, and then I went all coffee, and I got way too into coffee. I started roasting it in my kitchen, and it would set off smoke alarms. And I started like buying green beans. I was looking at renting space with a commercial roaster, so I could use their roaster. Things got way too serious. But now sometimes I drink freeze-dried coffee. Like we call it camping coffee at home, and it's kind of like objectively shitty, but also like it does the job. It's really easy. You can take it camping. It's good in a power outage. So coffee is my short answer.
I mean, also though, bright side to like crap coffee is you can use it in cooking, like putting a little bit in your like pancake like batter, and then having like coffee flavored pancakes with chocolate chips in them. Great way to use crap coffee.
Oh, that does sound good.
Mm-hmm.
I've been really into like freeze-dried foods as cooking. They just have all the flavor, just none of the moisture. So things like freeze-dried coffee and freeze-dried berries are just like really good to use.
But let's get this. Man, that does sound good though. But let's get this slightly more on topic. So what's your favorite game or genre of gaming?
Oh, it used to be. I was so into roguelikes. I tend to play a lot of things that are kind of related to what I'm working on. So I went all the way into roguelikes, and then I burned all the way out of them. And now that I'm kind of working on a new project, I'm looking at a lot of games that are kind of like sort of in the life simulator space. But I'm looking at things that have kind of like a more unique take on just whatever Stardew Valley is doing, which is still a great game that I play a lot of. But right now I'm really leaning in towards very unique life simulators.
So like Slime Rancher, is that a life simulator?
Yeah, that's close enough for me, and that's actually one of those games I've played a lot of. Yeah, like Slime Rancher. I'm really looking forward to this one coming out called Spiritfarer. It's by the Thunder Lotus team that made Jotun.
Oh, yes, Jotun and Sundered, and it's so hype about that actually.
Yeah, I never like really clicked with their other games, but Spiritfarer, from what I've played, is incredible, and that looks like a really, really good game. So
I got like a Spirited Away almost vibe from like some of the stuff in there design wise.
Yeah, exactly. It looks great, it plays great, it has really good writing. Everyone I've met from the Thunder Lotus team, they're all really, really like nice people. I think they're gonna kill with that game, and I hope they do.
Yeah, I'm just like briefly like, man, cannot wait. But so currently, are there any games that you're diving into of late? This can be indie, it can be tabletop, it can be just games you're diving into current like.
Yeah, I've been playing Lisa a lot, which came out a few years ago.
Oh,
do you know that one?
Yes, I played the God damn it, is it the sequel that's? Which one's the first one? I played the one that's on Steam, and then it has like the sequel where you're playing as Buddy.
Oh really? There's a sequel? I didn't even know this.
It like you need to play Lisa first to get more context, but it's dark. I got all the endings in it, and I was just like, what the hell, for a lot of it. Just like, what the ever living hell.
It is dark. It's heavy. At least where I'm at in Lisa. I like it as such just like a risky game. It's cool. It goes really, really hard in a certain direction, and I'm not always there for it, but I appreciate like its desire to be weird as a game, and its like general ability to be good at it. I've also been playing My Time at Portia, which is interesting. That's another like.
I heard a hiss there. Is it like a good, interesting, but sometimes a bad one?
They make things so fucking complicated in that game. Their technology tree, sometimes you have to like build a bridge, but by the time like the tree totally fans out, there might be like hundreds of things you have to do. Oh
god.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of overdid the crafting system in that game.
God.
But I still like playing that game with my daughter, and that's a game that we enjoy playing. But when I kind of step back and put on like my designer hat, I'm like, ugh, kill me. This is so hard. Why is this so hard? And also I've been playing Eagle Island, which is a game that my friend made. It's a roguelike, and that game is.
Wait, you're friends with that? I went through
Nick.
that. It was so good. Yeah, Pixel Nick.
Pixel Nick. that game frustrates me so much, but I love playing it with my daughter, and we're like super into it. We're having a good time with it. That's a game
100%ing
that,
it made me so mad.
when I play it with somebody else and we kind of, I don't know. It has a really fun, tense experience when you play with like the right people. So I've been kind of getting back into that lately.
Also, like, when you try and like perfect things and like set up big combos, it's so stressful. That game manages to be so incredibly stressful.
Yeah,
And
it's insanely hard. That is the most hardcore roguelike I play at the moment right now. It's hard.
Yeah. So, beyond gaming, by the way, one of the things I ended up looking on your Twitter, and I've commented on this, was the tasty bread making recipes and experiments, which I would like to know how you got into that.
You know, that's actually very much related to indie game development. You know, when you end up working from home and you kind of leave your career in tech or whatever the fuck it is, and you now have 24 hours a day in a room next to a kitchen, that kind of time overlap works really well for bread baking and kind of like various baking projects. So it kind of started with that, and then I've gotten really into it, and I don't know, I've kind of gone my own way with it. I've got my own recipes that I'm working on now, and I like to do a lot of testing. And just yesterday I did a loaf of bread and croissants. And then the day before that I did koinamon, which is really incredible. Koinamon is my new favorite pastry, and it took like 3 days to make, and it was totally worth it.
This just makes me think of like the coffee thing you were mentioning. It's like you just don't halfway hobbies or interests, do you?
No, I definitely have a tendency to take things to their like logical conclusion, I guess, or to whatever extreme.
So the logical conclusion of baking is koinamon, I guess.
What's that?
The logical conclusion of baking is koinamon.
Yeah, that's it's in some of my baking books. It's like the last recipe. It's quite a bit more work than croissants. It's really more work than any kind of sourdough bread. And if you mess it up, it's like, it's not very good. So, but I really, really like it. I finally got it right, and it was really the best kind of pastry I've ever had. And it was cool because it came out of my kitchen. So that was good. I make a lot of garbage too. Many things don't come out well, but when I got the koinamon just right, I thought that was really good.
So I guess what this means is, do you have any good dessert recipes for baking that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, that's a hard question. I think the answer is yes. I would like to share them, but in a way to like distill it down to a thing that somebody who's not like a very serious baker could accomplish in their home in a time span that's less than like a day. I don't actually have anything ready to go. I think that Japanese milk bread is maybe the closest one. And Japanese milk bread I think is a pretty good, approachable recipe that I think many people could do in their home kitchen. I don't have a recipe for it right now that I could share, but I do think that is a great way to start.
Well, I mean, I'll be like linking people to your Twitter down at the end of this video, so I mean, I guess you can always post up recipes there for it.
Okay.
And videos. Yeah. I mean, also because you do games, but also because Japanese, Anyways. So, I have a question. Do you have any tips, like hobbies or practices to help navigate the stress of game development?
I think it kind of depends on the person's situation. I found out working on a team when I was working in a studio to be a really very different kind of stress than what I face as an indie developer. And a lot of it at the studio level is like, well, you have to kind of worry about whatever your career path might be. You have to worry about like kind of the dynamic of working with like, other engineers and being on an engineering team. And that I would not say I've like successfully navigated. But I think as an indie developer, I think I learned a lot of good habits that eluded me for the first year. But I think over the last year, I've got really serious about self-care. Um, and for me, a lot of that is built around like eating well and baking and having like hobbies that don't involve screens or TVs or computers, and running. And I think smoking weed has also been really good for me too.
Fair. It's illegal here. Yeah.
Is it legal there? You're in
Canada?
New York, right?
Canada.
Oh, you're in Canada? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like all the way legal there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all the way legal in California, but you can't really fly with it, and it's yeah, it's pretty heavily regulated too.
So, here's my question is, because I was thinking about this, you're talking about, like, how you were working as part of a team. I believe that was actually, was Toma Mortal Arena, right?
Yeah.
So what led you to from branching from that experience and specifically pursuing a career as a solo dev? And what were the benefits and hurdles of that choice compared to working in a team?
I would say that the mechanism was pretty accidental. Kind of. I left kind of the studio dev experience. I decided to kind of go work more directly in tech. And then I think within the first year of working at a tech startup, I really realized I'd made a huge mistake. And so while I was, maybe working less hours and making more money, I think there was an intensity to the work of game development that I was missing. And I was just very unhappy working in tech. So I really just started kind of prototyping what eventually became Black Future 88. And that was interesting. I think I was, first of all, I'm lucky because I stand on a mountain of privilege. Just to be able to get that studio job and then to decide that I was going to be an indie developer after like working in tech for a year and kind of hating it. That's a really lucky position to be in. So I started working on Black Future 88, and I think maybe one of the biggest challenges was to realize that there's not really anyone else to lean on, and a lot of times just working on team, you can say, oh, well, this shader problem or this AI problem or whatever, this like architectural problem in the code, it's kind of over my head, or maybe I didn't write it, or maybe I just like need someone else to look at it. Or like I'm gonna add something I know is kind of buggy, but I'll get to it later. Not being able to count on anyone else to bounce a question off of, that's really, really hard. And to know that like all the bugs in your game you will have to fix is also that takes a lot of getting used to. And I think it induced quite a sense of panic in me early on. But kind of building better work habits and making sure I'm kind of organizing my work better, that's been a really good set of skills for me to develop. Does that really answer your question? I don't even know.
No, that actually answered it pretty thoroughly. And it sounded like it definitely helped sort of like form a sense of discipline. You're like, well, if I broke it, I'm actually going to have to fix it too.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I was just like digesting that for a second. I did actually realize, I forgot to ask, like, what got you into game development in the first place?
So I was really lucky that when I wanted to be a game developer, the skills that I already had were very in demand in game development, and there happened to be a really good job nearby me that I was qualified for, and that was basically it. But kind of the specifics of that is that I was a Flash developer earlier on, and I was basically making websites for bands and stuff. And Flash was a big part of that in a day. And then all of a sudden Flash gaming became a thing, and then I saw that Casual Collective, the people that made Desktop Tower Defense, they were actually hiring, and all of a sudden they were in San Francisco, and I thought, oh, that's like so fortuitous, I'm gonna get all up on that. But what I didn't realize is that they had kind of traded in like their indie hats and were kind of starting a more corporate thing, and that's the company that eventually became Kixeye, and we worked on that doomed MOBA that I was talking about. So
Rip.
that was interesting. That kind of turned into kind of like what we see as like regular mobile gaming today. So a lot of free-to-play games that I don't always feel like really good about how they monetize. But just to be there in the city with like a really big Flash background right when the game industry was kind of co-opting all that technology, that was incredibly lucky.
Fair. So I have just one last little question, I guess, in our little icebreaker section, as I just repeatedly use the word little over and over again. Hate my life. But what's the origin of super scary snakes?
Oh, so, we kind of touched on it earlier. I have a tendency to take things way too seriously, and I have a tendency to find kind of more complex ways of doing simple things, like making coffee or bread or something. And I think when I was kind of coming up with Black Future 88, and I realized, I need some kind of like studio name, I wanted to be a reminder to myself to have fun and to not take something so seriously. So also I just watched basically every talk by Rami Ismail, and he also says like, yeah, fuck like any time or money that you spend on your studio branding, and that really resonated with me. I thought, yeah, I don't really care. I just need something that is simple and is a little bit fun and kind of gives me the encouragement I need to do the right thing. So that was it. That was the whole thing. It was a really expedient answer that was just waiting for me. So Super Scary Snakes.
Also, I just find it really hilarious that as an acronym, it's very fitting.
Entirely.
So that attended to, just tell us a bit about Black Future 88. Just how did it come to be, and how long have you been working at it?
So I've been working on it for about 4 years, I guess, in total. It started when I was working in tech, really hating it, and I went to see my friend's VR startup at GDC, and I guess that was 4 years ago. And I remember kind of coming out of it feeling like a little motion sick, but just like entirely inspired by just the creative work that they were doing, just the passion of everybody who decides to work on games. I'm like, oh fuck, this is what I'm missing. This banking app I'm working on has like none of this and will never offer this to me. So that's kind of when it started, and it really just started as like, well, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna go work on something, and it really was just a prototype. I don't think I intended it for it to be a game until quite a ways into it. But I just started writing a procedural map generator, which I had never written before, and it was really bad for the first like 4 or 5 versions of it, and that was it. It just slowly turned into Black Future 88. I knew I wanted to make a roguelike because that's kind of all I was playing at the time, and I felt like that was a design space that I think I could kind of figure out. And for no other reason, I decided to make it a platformer just because there were so many top-down roguelikes. I wanted to do something that stood out a bit, and I don't regret that at all, because it led me down a really interesting organic design path that, it was quite an adventure, I would say.
So is this like back when you were more into roguelikes, or is this part of what led to you being like, ugh, I need like something else in my life now?
Oh, I was all into roguelikes. That was all I played. I had just become a dad at the time, so just like a really short play session game that didn't have like 100-hour campaign or something. Things that I could play and be satisfied if I only had like 20 minutes or 40 minutes. It kind of pushed me into that design direction, and I think we see that pretty clearly in Black Future 88.
Fair. Yeah. Wait. Yeah. That definitely do deadlock time.
Yeah, definitely.
So, my editor Rand had this to ask you, since we normally field like some community questions and but Synthwave, cyberpunk, futuristic aesthetics have just been seeing a surge in popularity in the games industry in recent years, but what was the inspiration for telling the story using the particular visual and auditory style that you do?
Yeah, it also started because I wanted to make a soundtrack for a game also, and that was, I think, what I really wanted to get to. But most of what I do musically is kind of in that synthesizer space. I've been playing in an indie band for a long time, so I had really been getting more into just like production and synthesizer music, and I kind of let the music inform the visual aesthetic of the game. Because as I was kind of prototyping the game using leftover MOBA assets, and I was also prototyping a certain musical aesthetic, and eventually they kind of met in the middle and they started informing each other. But it was a very organic decision. I wouldn't say it was very intentional to wind up where it did. It was just kind of a lucky confluence of events, I guess.
Okay. Which in that case, so Mad Ricochet, from the Crit Hit Cauldron, I actually want to know if Vaporwave had an influence on just things as they were.
I don't even know what Vaporwave is. I couldn't tell you. I think that's a thing on Reddit, right? That's the thing that like Redditors know a lot about, but I don't really know what Vaporwave is. That sounds like an extremely specific subgenre of just general synth music.
It is a very specific subgenre of like visuals in music and like I guess what they thought the future was going to look like.
Nice. I grew up on a lot of kind of late 80s action films. Things that were really regrettable, like Total Recall and The Running Man.
Oh, what? Those had such great special effects in them. The eyeballs on Mars, so good.
Yeah, and all the John Carpenter music that he did for his films.
Oh, actually, yes.
I was really, really inspired by John Carpenter. I thought that was the coolest fucking thing that this old guy makes his crazy movies and then he does a soundtrack on his busted ass equipment, and then it's like good enough and he can go tour with the band. I thought like, wow, that's pretty good. I would take that. I would love to do that. So that's, yeah, it was a lot more John Carpenter inspired than Vaporwave.
Okay, that's actually really neat too, and I'm just like thinking about They Live right now. Yeah.
I don't know what They Live. That was John Carpenter, right?
Yep.
Oh man, I did not see that one.
Oh, you should actually see that one. It's quite good. Okay, so we have another community question, I guess, while I stop gushing about John Carpenter after you started. But, so the visual effects in this game are, like, really stylish and exciting, but also feel very aesthetically deliberate. How much work went into balancing these vibrant visual effects and particles with the overall landscape in order to effectively deliver on the game's aesthetic? This is the question from my editor, who's probably, like, the one who has to deal with editing all my stuff, so obviously it's the graphics question from him.
I would say how much work went into it? An incredible amount of work. Maybe more work than I care to admit. It was really, really hard. I had not really done a lot of effects work, and I think I found early on that, oh hey, more is better, or at least I thought so. But every time you do that, you kind of like raise the visual headroom, or the visual effects ceiling of the game, and then if you want something to stand out, then it has to compete with that like very visually loud thing that you added. But I think trying to tune it all and get things at kind of the right, volume, as you might call it, for VFX, that was a tremendous amount of work, and I think it continues to be too.
Oh, quick question.
Yeah.
When I was like looking at it, I was like, this feels very Blade Runner in segments, and was that intentional?
Yeah, very much. I'm just as I haven't seen They Live, I didn't see Blade Runner until I was actually working on this game. I was babysitting some kid that my daughter went to school with, and I just had Blade Runner on my laptop. I'm like, oh, I should watch this. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. Volumetric lighting, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to put it into this pixel art game. And that was a volumetric lighting would not be in this game without Blade Runner.
Fair.
It was so good. It was so moody. I loved it.
Yeah, it's amazing, and some of the how they got stuff done in that game, or in that movie, is phenomenal. Like, some of the background things are just paintings, are just massive paintings, and I'm like, that's absurd.
Yeah, incredibly detailed production.
So here's a question on something that you did, not visuals related, but is there any particular tracks you're especially fond or proud of in the soundtrack?
Yeah, I think Sky Melt, I think, is really fucking cool to me. I like, that's the music that plays in the Juno and Jupiter boss fight, and I like to imagine that as like my personal theme song if I ever walk into a party where I don't know anybody, or like, just that's my confidence booster that I can play in my head. It's everything I want all songs to sound like all the time. It's so cool to me. And then there's also some music coming out in an update that I think is really, really cool. It's kind of a new experimental, I guess, evolution for me, and I'm really excited to see what people think about it.
Oh wait, so how many new tracks are being put out in this update?
Just 2.
Okay. I mean, what actually lets you allowing people to be able to choose what music is playing at a given point as a node?
My publisher asked for it, and I didn't see any reason not to. That was it.
Huh. Yeah, I actually really love that as a feature, incidentally. Just a really friggin' good feature.
Easy enough. I just reused some UI. I'm like, alright, I'll get it done.
Alright, so given that Black Future's been worked on for a while, has there been any notable features or elements that hit the cutting room floor, and perhaps any that might make a return in the future?
Yeah, there's been a few. There's actually been quite a bit of things that got cut. There used to be individual challenge rooms that you could access from the lobby, or I guess the base underground, and they would be extremely hard, very shitty bullet hell platforming challenges that you basically had to do perfectly, and they came with like a predefined loadout. Like, they give you this character with this weapon and these buffs, and they just weren't really that good, honestly. They were not super Meat Boy enough. I think that the platforming mechanics of the game didn't really support it well enough. So those got cut. I don't think they are going to come back either. One thing that got cut that is definitely coming back is the actual Skymelt boss fight. That is... I probably can't say too much about it, but...
oh no, spoil away. I've been looking forward to that.
It will not be in this update, that's for sure. But you will be able to fight a boss called Skymelt in the future.
In the future is in the past, or is in the future is in during the initial playthrough?
We're going to say our future in the present timeline. But in the game's timeline, it would probably be the past.
Okay. So that will actually give those folks who want to go and headbutt against the harder loops another good reason to dive down further.
Yeah.
Baller.
There's a lot of stuff coming, both in this first update and also future updates that really help pave the way for a very interesting endgame, I would say.
In that case, is there anything that you'd like to clarify on that you have, that you have like planned? Both since you mentioned there's an upcoming update as well as other things, just sort of a loose roadmap, I guess.
Yeah. There is a roadmap. It's pretty short, but it kind of goes just like it's got a few large updates in it. When does this air, do you think?
This will probably be, well, it's gonna be like an hour and something of editing, so it's gonna be released probably next week or the week after.
Great. Okay, so the first update is actually dropping this week, and it has we call it the small update because that's what my publisher wanted to call it, but it could have been a named update. It's got so much stuff in it. It's really cool. I'm really, really, really excited about it. And then there's going to be a larger update that comes TBD that has things like the Skymount boss fight, a lot of very cool stuff, maybe some new playable characters,
Woo!
and yeah, it's gonna be cool. I'm really excited with that. There's already been a lot of work done on that one, so it's cool. There's gonna be some characters. There's gonna be some story elements too.
That was actually a really large question I was going to ask. Was there going to be any clarification on the game's narrative to look forward to? Because as so far, the crux of it comes with literally the narrator and the little entries in the codex.
Yeah, I think there will be some clarifications coming in future updates. Yes.
Are they going to be cutscene oriented or codex oriented or some other way of like introducing them?
I would say whatever the best method is. The game started from very humble prototype origins. I will say I did not always know kind of the best way to go about things, but now that the game kind of has its base, it's kind of solidified a bit. I feel a lot more kind of competent in that kind of storytelling. So I think when it comes to future story elements, that's the thing I want to really take the time to get right. And if a cutscene is the best way to do that, then that's how I want to do it.
Okay.
But that's TBD.
That's TBD. What's the narrative explanation for like deadlock time? I know what it fulfills mechanically is stressing the hell out of anyone who plays, but like, what's the narrative reason that your heart explodes out of your chest?
Currently, there's not a well-defined narrative reason.
Okay.
I'm just like, sorry to say that.
Okay, it's fine. I'm just like,
that was a thing that kind of happened organically with the design of the game.
I'm just like, it's fine. It's gameplay, story segregation. It'll get integrated later. For that matter, though, since I'm still on like a bit of a story kick, who's the narrator? Like, I know that the narrator is the current last boss, but like, who's the voice actor?
So his name is TK Kelman, and he's really good. I found him pretty early on when I was working on the game, and I had gone down the real like VO actor rabbit hole of listening to like hundreds and hundreds of people. But I wanted something with just a ton of gravity to it, something very grisly, something that felt very human. And TK, I heard him reading some audiobooks, and I'm like, oh, this is very good. And I wanted someone that kind of had that like Wayne June voice from. I was like,
this sounds sort of like Wayne June, but there's something that's not, and it's why I'm like, yeah, no, you hit that spot on.
Yeah, TK's good. I like him. He doesn't. I don't really know if he even does a lot of VO work. Anytime I email him like, hey, do you think you can get this done? He's like, sure. So I'm like, okay, great. Then I PayPal him, and then like, we're good. I get the files. I do some mixing. I have no idea what the guy's life is like. I hope it's really interesting because he's a great VO actor. So.
Okay. So right now, we've already talked a little bit about things that are coming up. I figured to ask if you could maybe give a bit more clarification, I guess, on the current the patch that is going to be dropped this week, but from the perspective of viewers is going to be dropped a week or two ago. Yes.
So one thing I'm really excited about is this new system called deadlock cultures, where a player very early in the game can spend some time to make some time later. So it's really cool because it gives them a better, like more viability for endgame stuff, but at the cost of now they have less time to work with in the early game. And then they start to feel that time pressure really early on in the game instead of you know, at the end of a looping run or something, wherever they would kind of normally feel that time pressure. So it is really, really exciting because some of those options are just, some of them are very simple. It's like, hey, spend a minute and then you'll make 2 minutes a little bit later.
Yeah,
that's
gamma.
That's easy. That's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
But then there's some which is like, yo, you could spend 14 minutes
to get 16.
Yeah, but you have to know you have to know that, like, okay, if I'm going to take this, I need to know exactly how long it's going to take me to get to the boss. I need to know I can defeat them reasonably fast. And then I may know that I only have like a minute, 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes to find the next station where I can actually collect my deadlock culture. And that's kind of like a real Hail Mary move that I really like. So that to me is just really exciting. I think there's a lot of things that can be done with it, and that's cool. There's also a feature where you can hack. There's some new tower upgrades that are really cool. There's unstable portals where portals will actually start to absorb damage, and if they take too much, they'll curse everything in the room, including you. There's a lot of new buffs that kind of synergize against cursed enemies. There's a new NPC that can hack the tower directly. It's cool. I'm really excited about it. I've play tested it a tremendous amount, and to me, it really does feel like Black Future 89. You know, it's a big step up for me. It's cool.
I hadn't found the NPC who can hack the tower, so I don't know what they do. I did get to poke around a bit, so I got to go and use the joys that are gamma cultures.
Oh yeah.
They're the ones I always choose because they're just a good choice to make. And I really actually dug some of the new things in there, and I imagine there's a lot of new synergies that came with it too, correct?
Actually, no. There's a lot more things that kind of use underutilized systems. So there's like stasis weapons in the game that kind of briefly stun an enemy, and it's not always that useful because a lot of those stasis weapons, they'll kind of like one-shot an early enemy, and then for later enemies, they just don't really have enough damage output. But there's a new weapon called like the Static Reaper, where if you fire it, if there's a stasis enemy in the room, it basically goes berserk, and it'll start jumping around between all these enemies. Some of them don't have to be stasis. And it'll use a lot of ammo, but it can really annihilate a room really, really well. So I've really been focusing a lot more on less hidden stuff and hidden content, and more things that kind of leverage kind of existing content that's available to everybody.
So there's new things that are not hidden synergies, but actually weapons that synergize with each other and new perks and the like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was there so part of the thing is you mentioned like there's new things for the curses. I remember one of them was like clean hands or something. It like breaks cursed items when you pick them up.
Yeah, pristine touch.
Yeah. So was there a lot of new things added to go and support or work with and against the curse system? Specifically?
Yeah, there are quite a few. There's a few things that really proc against cursed enemies, and then there's a few things. There's a specific buff called Bad Omens that really pushes the player towards getting as cursed as possible, and I think Pristine Touch does that too in its own way. But a lot of it kind of really guides the player off of kind of straddling a fence and instead going into like a really extreme direction, but it kind of forces them to pick a direction.
Does Pristine actually stop you from acquiring curses by just like destroying the weapon before it would curse you, or do you still get cursed if you pick something up?
The second one. So you still get cursed. Yeah, so you still absorb the curse, but it does break the weapon, so you don't get it.
Yeah, it doesn't break any you're already holding, I noticed.
No.
But, yeah.
But if you buy a weapon that's cursed, it'll break that too.
Ouch! Ouch!
Yeah, so pretty nasty. I still always take it when I get it. I'm like, oh, let's see how this goes.
Is Pristine Touch the one that gives you time when you kill a cursed enemy?
It does.
Yeah, I don't know what Bad Omens does though.
It doesn't. That one scales. That makes your dash abilities do more damage, but scales with how cursed you are.
Wait, so if you had Bad Omens, Night Reaper...
Night Piercer?
Yeah, that sounds gross, actually.
Yeah, and then you get extremely cursed, and then maybe you get like the Melt Core or the Vagrant Core. And you get something that lets you do a tremendous amount of dashes. And then maybe you'd also get like the Overstimulator, because when you do Night Piercer damage, that also is melee enough that it counts as a melee attack. So yeah, there's lots of like new
Wait.
combinatorial
So you could use Grim
up.
Determination and Night Piercer?
Yeah.
Nerding out here. Sorry, folks. But like... Okay, so the Mercy thing that resets when you kill someone, Grim Determination, Night Piercer, and Bad Omens. There you go.
Yeah.
It's good. It's fine.
It's one of 20 new game-breaking builds that you can do in Black Future 89.
It's good. So I had a question, and I remember asking you this like off screen, just idly, but it can sometimes be hard to compare whether you're having a side grade, a downgrade damage-wise, or the like when you're going between weapons. Are there any intentions to adjust the UI so that when you pick up a new weapon you can see how it might compare damage-wise, at least at base or current like?
Yeah, I think that's not here, or it's not in the kind of updated build, but I think that's a thing that's been requested by a great many people, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I think that could be on the table for a future update. Yeah, I think so. To me though, a lot of the kind of quirkiness of the weapons is they're so idiosyncratic that a lot of times I feel like their damage values aren't, it's only maybe like half the story, maybe even less than that. And I wanted people to think more about the weapons and how they're used instead of just like a number that they could compare. I want it to be a more thoughtful exercise for people, or at least to force them to commit more towards like internalizing the workings of the game.
I mean, that's fair. The one thing I was also going to ask about, though, was is there any way to track the curse stack? Because I know you can't shed it, but it's always good to sort of figure out whether or not you are so mega cursed that you want to try and avoid doing it or not. Because I don't know if it's every single cursed item gives you the exact same amount of curse as the next, or if some give more. And I never got to figure that out. I just like, oh, I'm just acquiring curses a lot, because I know I ended one round with 25 on me.
I think that is going to be coming very soon. Yeah, I think that's a stat that is, I think, too important to obfuscate as much as it is obfuscated. So I think some visibility into kind of what kind of curse level players are carrying around is a thing that is going to be really soon.
Is the word obfuscated? I always said offuscated. Is it?
I kind of just like
obfuscated?
Jam all those consonants together. Obfuscate.
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 Anyways, yeah, I'm just being a genius here. It's fine. Is there ever actually going to be a way to shed curse, by the way, or not so much? And also part of why I was like, is there going to be a way to track numbers so I can actually see how much the Black Richter scales as you just accumulate curses?
So actually the blood purifier that you can get from the drug dealer will cancel out your curse.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know this!
I actually forgot about it until I was playtesting a bunch of curse stuff. And I had to touch the blood purifier, and I saw like, oh shit, this actually takes away your curse. I had forgotten.
I knew it got rid of like blood poisoning.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
wow.
No updated description. Yeah.
Wow. Just give me a second. I need a moment, because that's...
Yeah, I needed a moment when I found that. I'm like, oh fuck, seriously, the game works like that? That's one of those things that I maybe did like 3 years ago. I'm like, oh, we are good to go, and I forgot about it. That was a recent find.
Okay. Okay. So currently, when players reach like the level cap, there's a message that seems to allude that there will be more to come level-wise. Do you currently have any thoughts on like possible content that you'd like to implement in the game? Not necessarily what's coming next in the small patch, but like in general.
Sorry, what was that last thing you said?
So do you have? It's like the thing that like levels up and unlocks more weapons and perks and etc. When I got to cap, it seemed to allude that wasn't going to be the final cap. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts on like what was there actually going to be more to come in that respect, and what was there in specific you were looking or considering implementing down the line, not counting what's coming in the current update.
Yeah. So you said not counting the current update, but the current update does raise it considerably.
Oh, what?
And then I think future updates are going to also continue to push it. But there's also going to be some, I think, new meta mechanics that aren't directly tied to just dying a bunch. So yeah, that's going to keep growing. A lot of it is going to be kind of like new idiosyncratic weapons, like tricky buffs, new NPCs that kind of provide a specific upgrade avenue. I've always wanted to do more with the drones in the game.
Yes.
The sidekicks. Yeah, having like an NPC that can upgrade them or that you could buy them from. That's certainly, that would be a really good thing that I think would raise the skill floor for a lot of players that could really use that.
It's also part of why I like Seagrist. I mean, and it's really weird because Tinker is such a neat ability, but it's so specific.
It's underused though. That's one of those things that I wish, like, oh, if I had, my crystal ball or my time machine, that's the thing I think I would have spent more time on.
And the dumbest thing I've done actually is I tinkered, put the money shot on one, and then downloaded a co-op player into it.
Oh, nice.
Because I don't think it actually drains your money if it's in the stupid robot.
It might not. It very well might not. There is actually a secret synergy though. If you get the really useless laser that you get from the familiar, there's a synergy related to that weapon.
What?
And the only it's I think it gets upgraded to something just like ridic.
Spoilers?
So what's that?
Spoilers? I'd like to know how to get that. Is it neon chrome, that thing, and something else?
It probably is. Do you want me to look it up right now?
You know what? We can. I'll maybe like ask you for a cheat list of the synergies just to post up later, because oh my god, it's like trying to actually find them is really hard, because sometimes if they require like boss perks, it's still really hard. It's why I always get the charisma upgrade, because it gives me better odds of getting synergies.
Yeah, that thing is super overpowered. It looks not useful, but then you see like, oh, this gets me like more everywhere, like
more chrono armor, also like cheap friggin' health plus, and also more perk selection to get synergy. Wow, yeah, no, it's good. I love it.
Yeah,
it's my favorite.
Yes, I would like to do more with that in upcoming updates.
Man, that actually would, I think, really be interesting with co-op, because like, okay, so one of the taglines to the game was like ruin your friendships, and I was playing this with another streamer in the co-op, and we were just the co, the challenge room, so you're finding like, oh man, secret, time to get a perk, and then you walk in there and it's just like, oh, and we gotta kill each other. Oh,
you don't have to, you could just leave, but
and get nothing.
Yeah, it's a little dark. It takes a dark turn sometimes.
Yeah, I think the funny part is the first time we walked in there, we have a bad habit of shooting whenever we walk into a new room, and it just one-shot me from full health.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. Yeah, and then it just became revenge from that point onwards. Like, one of us would try to kill the other. I would die more often than not. Yeah.
That is so funny. That's one of those things that I added, like when I was doing co-op. I'm like, oh, what if there was like this one room that you could kind of walk into and it kind of flip the script a little bit, and I kind of forgot about it. But it would keep coming up, like when I would do like show the game and we're demoing co-op with something, and I would do it like a Polygon reporter, and we'd walk into this room and I had to be like, oh, yeah, this room's special. We have to just get out of it as fast as we can. So.
So like, do you have any additions towards how co-op works that you're intending on implementing?
Not quite yet. I think maybe more things to do with a dead player is always a really interesting design space. That to me was also a really big surprise, just to realize like, oh hey, a player just died, but the game isn't over when normally it would be, and this is a chance to like do something neat. That was such a delight when I realized like, oh, I could have fun in this space. I can make it like weird or quirky or competitive. So I think kind of playing around a bit more in that would be interesting. But I don't actually have any plans specifically for that yet.
I do actually like the default option of like sacrificing some health and time to bring them back, because that made for some really clutch moments.
Yeah.
Though my favorite, and this will be great if there's more slightly drones, is to go and do the drone things. Oh, also, actually, question: if you download a player or whatever and then use the telephone, would you call in a replacement for that player without killing yourself? That was just a thing that came. I'm pretty sure it would just kill you, but I feel like that's a time where it's like actually would be useful for it to not kill you.
Yeah, if 2 players got out.
Oh, yeah, that would be even better, yeah.
That would be cool. That could be a thing. Yeah, that. But I think what would happen is you would die, a new player would get out, and because the player was downloaded to the now dead player, that dead player would now be lost to the ether, I think.
Oh, that's
they would now
harsh.
Be permanently gone.
Yeah. So yeah, I still love that because it's pretty harsh because you like lose all your perks, don't you?
You get a random set. It's randomized based on how many you had, and it'll follow like roughly the same structure. Like, oh, you had like 2 normal perks and like 2 cursed perks. It'll give you roughly the same. It might give you 1 less of each one, I think.
Oof.
Yeah, and then it's basically a way to re-roll your character and then get a bunch of time to live.
Yeah, which is, if you get that late game, is really nice, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. I just thought that'd be really... So one of the other things I was going to ask you about was the characters. So far we have Old Hower and a number of other ones. When I was talking to you, you'd mentioned the possibility of other old characters and playing with the systems and how they interact with time and the like, which also sort of doubled on Old Hower because he is unique in that he is the only character in the game who starts with less deadlock time until he dies instantly than the others, and also has a way to burn through that time because he can also slow time and go through his deadlock time twice as fast.
Yeah. I love playing as Old Hower. Him and Sue are my favorite characters to play.
I've started with blood poisoning right near the top as her, and then like the first hit just killed me.
What was that?
Sue, because she starts blood poison, doesn't she?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
she does. No, I had like the first health bar, like first whatever, just be basically blood poison. So I got like hit with something hard, and then it detonated, and then it just, you exploded, and I was like,
Yeah, that's not a great experience, is it?
No, I mean, it's neat because she can use the chemist cheaper than other people off the hop, but she's definitely, I think, the hardest character, at least to start out with. I think Ghost might actually be harder just because the terrible amount of base health means things late game, like attrition, works against you because health bars mean you can heal them back and forth, etc. Yeah. But I mean, Ghost is time
with
stop.
Ghost, I feel like the dominant strategy is try to get Doomed Valor as soon as you can possibly get it, and then go all drugs, all armor as much as you can, and try not to get hit. You know?
Which, I mean, to be fair, he has time slow. He can avoid getting hit rather well.
Yeah, he's good. He's got the ghost nail, which is like extremely tactical. I think if you go slow with it. Um, yeah, I like Ghost a lot.
I think he'd
But
actually go
Sue,
really.
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just like, I think he'd go well with a melee weapon too, because you could pick up the ammo crates with the ghost nail, because it takes your time. But that also
Oh,
means
yeah.
ammo crates would give you time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good build. I would do that. I would play that build.
But you were saying about Sue.
Oh yeah, she's great.
I don't have the
She's so
achievement for
good.
dying as her yet. I do have the achievement for beating the boss as her.
Okay. Yeah, she's hard. Looping with her is hard. You know, I personally like that the characters, some are easier to play than others, some are more viable than others. The difficulty is not flat across all characters. Sue is
Which is
definitely
fair.
on the high end of difficulty for playing the game. But I think her mechanics, I really enjoy. And if I'm the only one that enjoys them, that's actually okay enough for me.
I think she's good for memes. Sue is good for memes and like to showcase like, oh yeah, there's this character who starts out and they just explode into a pile of goo on the first hit, and like they start out with their blood being flammable.
Yep, that's what happens. 1988 was crazy.
But yeah, so what other character concepts are you juggling, and will there be old characters for everyone, and are they going to be unlocked the same way as how, or if beating the game with the basic character gives you the old variant down the line?
So I think some of them will be that simple, some of them will not be. There is... I did mention that this update has a tiny bit of lore expansion. It's actually related kind of to the next update where... but there's a track, there's a new music track called Young Miranda that to me is part of the lore of the game. And that kind of goes, again, with the young and old versions of characters.
Wait, there'll be young versions.
Well, you see, that's complicated. So that's the thing I can't talk about right this second. But I think there will be character versions that I think offer very interesting takes on the game.
So I assume young Sue wouldn't explode on the first hit because she wouldn't have gotten into drugs yet.
Oh no, young Sue is just Sue. But I think the old version of Sue is just going to be called plain Sue, and it's going to be spelled S-U-E. And yeah, there's going to be some characters, but it's not quite as straightforward as like beat the game with the regular version, get the old version. There will be a few more of those, but I'm looking at things that are a bit different from that at the moment.
Interesting. Any interesting mechanics or things that we might be able to look forward to?
You know, I've always wanted to do a weapon that just had one big bullet that you had to go pick up. So it would be like one big bullet, you shoot an enemy, and then you have to be like, oh fuck, I have to go get that thing. So you have to go run over there, and you would just auto attract to you within a certain distance, and then your gun would be reloaded. I've
So
always
it'd work
wanted
well
to do
with
that.
like dash builds.
What's that?
So it'd work well with like dash builds.
Yeah, with dash builds. It would be almost like a very long-range melee weapon, but then you have to go get it.
Oh god, I'm thinking of like the fucking the needler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be quite a bit like the Needler, or the fucking Needler, as it is sometimes called.
Wait. But then this means if you shot the bullet down into a bottomless pit, are you screwed?
Yes. Or maybe you could go pick up an ammo box, like maybe any ammo box would fill it up, but it only has an ammo capacity of 1, and maybe it would shoot special bullets that are always worth 1 ammo. Maybe that's what it'd be. So it would auto attract. Maybe you could fill any weapon with it if you're close enough. I don't know. I'd have to play with it. It might be bad if like, oh, you have 2 weapons and it went, you switch weapons when you dash to it and went into your other weapon, and now your big bullet gun is empty. that might be a really negative experience, but I wanted
mean,
to do that.
the other reason why I was like, so wait, if it goes into a bullet is if you got like the upgrade for bouncing bullets, shot like someone, missed, and it just bounced into a bottomless pit.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it'd be
that would be
funny,
good.
but like tragic.
That would be, yeah, it'd be extremely tragic. It's just like dropping the needler anywhere in the power center. It's like, oh fuck, I lost it. I really needed that. That was part of my plan. But,
Oh yeah, no, it's even worse if you drop the heavy needler.
oh yeah, the heavy needler. That's got late game potential, and then it's gone. Now
God,
it sucks.
bye. Yeah, no. I really like the needler when you have like the needler on Seagrist with an ammo cap upgrade. And you're just like, well.
yeah. Her ammo max is getting nerfed a bit. She carries too much ammo, I think.
No.
Yeah, it's getting nerfed a little bit. It's
Okay.
going from 1.5 times to 1.25 times. So
I mean, still hurts. Not as bad. Still hurts. I loved that ammo cap max. It actually
Yeah,
made
she-
stuff like the needler more viable because I hate that weapon so badly sometimes.
so you must be getting it in co-op, right?
I play on and off co-op. I
Okay.
don't have too many people to play it with because, like, I don't have people I can play with in person, and most of the people I do play with are on the other side of the continent from me, and therefore, it's sometimes, like, I have to deal with their crap internet. Ugh. Ugh. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it would be really fun. Wait a second. So if I like hucked it at the other player in co-op, would it reload?
No, I don't think it would hit them because they're on your team.
Cries. Okay.
But they might be able to catch it. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess that was about that. So we might have a big bullet to look forward to from characters. Ultimately, so what was the most challenging aspect for developing this title?
Oh, I think it's less about the game itself and more about just indie development in general, which is dealing with extremely long periods where you're by yourself, and just like fighting like whatever personal issues you have going through that time and not giving up is really the biggest challenge in any project like this. It's a lot easier to like have coworkers and rely on like going to an office every day, but when you're just like at home and your game sucks and you know it because you just started it and it's going to take another year to like be enjoyable to you, that's really hard. Or when you're looking at like a mountain of bugs and you literally don't know how you're going to fix all of them. I think just the endurance of developing a game this size with a team that is my size was a lot more than I'd really expected it to be.
Fair.
Yep, it was hard. It was really hard. I got really good work habits though. I got really good at like general life skills where before I just had no idea what I was doing. But man, it was rough.
You also got really good at baking.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's good.
On a related gamery topic, do you have a synergy or weapon setups, either like a hidden or whatever normal synergy that you really enjoy? For instance, my favorite one that I discovered was the Melt Core in Blink Cannon, and they're like weird, not official, but awesome pairing that happens with them where it just instantly reloads constantly. I mean, the other one's Seeker
the Melt
Pistols.
Core, yeah, so I think my favorite one would probably be like any of the teleport weapons with the kinetic lance, because the kinetic lance looks at a teleport as
A
kind of
dash?
a kinetic event, so you can actually charge your lance by hitting something with like a night nail, and then pairing the kinetic lance with like a damage upgrade and the Melt Core, and then going into a loop, to me is like just a really cool experience. Just the game just has this like really cool fluidity to it that I really enjoy. The same thing with the blink cannons and the Melt Core. That to me is just really fun.
The dumbest thing I think that's also a setup other than that was just bouncing bullets, the Seeker Pistols, and Doomed Valor. Just fill up a room with like bullets.
Oh,
It's a
I
bullet
bet.
hell
I bet
in
that
your
makes a
favor.
mess. I bet that's like a room clearer right there.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, please don't nerf Segrist's ammo cap, because that ammo cap boost and those two things just like, and you get the thing that charges bullets on kill, or don't use bullets on combo, and you just start clearing out rooms. And if you have Time Reaper, you're fine. That's it.
Oh, that's a big broken build, isn't it?
It's
That sounds really broken.
it helps a lot, because one of the things I noticed is because the amount of enemies that spawn in, you lose a lot of time sometimes waiting for enemies to like come into focus, because you're in those rooms a lot longer than you would be in the first loop of the game. So like you're dealing with a much different management of time to get down into like the further loops. So having something like either the mask that gives you extra time or Time Reaper is almost necessary, so you need a way to just keep on top of that.
You know, it'd be cool would be like a tower upgrade that makes enemies spawn in faster, so there's less of just like waiting around for that.
Oh god,
and then
that'd
maybe
be terrifying.
A feature with a tower hacker where you could actually hack in buffs to the tower, so you might actually want that.
Oh, that would actually be neat. Yeah, like changing a buff it has in favor of another buff.
Yeah, I would like that. That would be really fun. I wanted to do that for the tower hacker in this update. Didn't get it, but I think that's coming.
Oh
That'd
man,
be cool.
I mean that'd also be. Are there any upgrades or things that will influence a run or etc. before you get into the run? Like say having the tower hacker or whatever in your base and being able to choose like the first couple upgrades that Skynet might get or something.
No, but
Okay.
or actually not yet is the answer. There is actually something planned for a future update, but yeah, there's nothing at the moment.
Okay, but that is a thing that you're like, because the not yet, it's like a you've considered something.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
I
gonna be
guess
cool. You're gonna like it. It's gonna be great.
any other hints or little things you want to tease at, I guess, would be our final question about the game.
Not really. I think there's always like I work with this artist that I really trust as like a great artist and a person with like who understands the game and can like generate really good ideas. And we have an incredible pile of ideas of things that we want to put in the game. It's really just time limited. Sometimes it's fun just like read through it. I think you could call it like my ideas bucket or something. It's some document. And I'm really excited about the stuff that's coming into the game. I'm excited to see how much bigger it's going to get. But that's it. I mean, there's so much cool stuff coming, and I think this update that's just come out now is going to be really, really fun for people.
The small/curse update, yes.
Yeah, heavy culture.
I'm very hype. So yeah, I mean, other than that then, I guess I can just move on to the question about other projects, because other than Black Future, you alluded to another project that you have in the works. Are you able to allude even slightly to what it may be, domain-wise or otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just tell you a bunch about it, I guess, because
Woo!
It's very early days on it. I've got something playable. It's still using a lot of Black Future art, so I can't really pitch it to publishers yet. But it's basically a platformer. It's another platformer, but I'm trying to make something much less violent, something without any guns. And I think the main mechanic is going to be gardening. But then it's got kind of this really unique story thing going on. Which it's really invested in its characters and its story, and it's about a bunch of characters who are for whatever I can't say too much about it, but they are starting a utopian society because they're the last humans, and they are trying to engineer society that can last for billions and billions of years. So that's really, really fun. That's it. I can't really tell you really any much more than that because some of it doesn't exist yet.
That's fine. I'm actually just because you said it's using like Black Future assets right now, and I'm recalling like how Black Future '88 pans out, and I'm like, yeah, the last of society. I'm like, this is very fitting.
Yeah, well, it's set in a post-human Earth that's been overrun by kind of a new organism. Yeah, and it's really built around kind of like this transhumanist sci-fi idea of like kind of an engineered society and like what exactly is a human if they don't have a body.
Like Soma,
yeah, it's
sort of.
Go ahead.
Like Soma, the Soma thing of like, what is a human if they don't have a body? Slash, are you still human if you were to be like downloaded into a computer, etc., etc., etc.
Oh, is that in Soma? I've never played Soma.
Oh, you should actually play it. It's very good and touches a lot on transhumanism and existential horror.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. I think I need to play it. I've been really into just like a lot of large sci-fi novels and transhumanist reading.
Oh, have you played Observer?
I haven't. I haven't
Also
actually
should
played a lot
do
of
that.
games lately. So
Observer and Soma.
That's one I should get.
Observer and Soma, they both dive into like transhumanists and other things. And Observer's very friggin' what's it called? Very Blade Runner. So you might appreciate that too.
Nice. I think I will put that on my list to check out.
But yeah, I guess I'd just like to ask if there's anything else you'd like to share with the audience at this juncture.
Oh, I probably shared too much. I will say that if anyone has played my game, I sincerely thank you. That's just like an incredible thing just to be able to share and to get to work on something and love something so much, and then to be able to share it, and then maybe they enjoy it. So if anybody played it, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It was a good game.
Oh, that's
Because
wonderful. Oh my god, they're here. Incredible. Whoa, live studio audience. Hello.
But yeah, lastly, as someone who just exists within the sphere that is indie gaming, are there any indie projects that you have had your eye on that you're following?
Oh, you know, I mentioned Spiritfarer earlier. That looks like a game I'm just gonna really enjoy playing. Same with Ooblets. Ooblets looks great. And then the other one I'm really excited about is Eternal Cylinder. That's the one that Ace Team is developing that, and Good Shepherd actually signed them, and they kind of announced it over the summer. That game looks just really psychedelic and really weird, and I can't wait to check that out. But I think those are the main ones I'm looking at. Just being on like indie game dev Twitter, I see so many amazing looking projects every single day that it's like, oh wow, all these games are like fucking great. And if it were 2008, they would slay. They would just like clean up the money. Yeah, so they kind of all look good.
My Steam wishlist is like 500 games long, and I hate my life.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's so many good things coming out that people are working on. Just off the shelf engines can do so much. So much more than they could in 2008. So I'm really looking forward to just like the next few years of indie games and seeing what comes out.
And I guess that wraps everything up pretty neatly. So first off, I'd just like to mention that you can buy/wishlist Black Future 88 on Steam. Is there anywhere else people can snack it on?
It's also on GOG and Humble. I think just all the major PC digital storefronts.
For news, there's Super Scary Snake on Twitter. There's also a website by the same name, but it's slightly behind on updates.
Yeah, no one touches that. That's let's say it doesn't exist.
I did my research. I know it exists.
You're very thorough.
Other than that, is there anywhere else you'd care to send people?
I'm trying to do all my stuff through Twitter, honestly. So just Twitter/Super Scary Snake. That's me.
All right. So also I'd like to say just thank you for showing up, putting up with all of my super enthusiastic questions, both on gaming and bread things, and just being here and sharing your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun.
Also, thank you for your work on Black Future 88, because I dig it. in advance to
Oh.
anyone who actually watches the interview before the review. I review pretty fucking positively, so hey.
Oh, thank you. That's really, really sweet. I appreciate that.
Anywho, thanks for tuning in. If you agree, disagree, or just have something to say to me, feel free to comment. And for those interested in more indie reviews, developer interviews, podcasts, or our Monday TTRPG content, which is maybe a little bit on hiatus because our DM's computer exploded, you can hit the subscribe button and the bell so you know when there's new release. There's also a Discord. You can click the link in the banner or the description. You can go part of our community, the Crit Hit Cauldron. Lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel, we do have a coffee running, so, you know, feel free to help supplement funds for our lovely editor and to make sure we can continue to provide quality content and not while away, mourn, and unloved. Unmourned? Unloved? Yeah, that. Also, again, you can check the description of the banner for them links. That said, I'll catch you folks on the next episode of Crit Hit. Take care until then, folks.